All right, great. So we'll go ahead and get started. First of all, welcome to everyone who's joined us. First of all, my name is Wanda Rayner. I am the Career and Employee Relations Specialist for the Robinson College of Business at Georgia State University. Welcome to How to Work a Virtual Career Fair. Also on this webinar is my counterpart, undergraduate career and recruiting specialist, Marielle Thomas, and she's going to facilitate a quick tutorial as relates to the Handshake, using the Handshake Virtual Career Fair platform. After that, we have two guest employers who will provide some best practices on how to navigate a virtual fair as well. We have Kimberly Coates with Pareto Health and
Pareto.
Edgar
Everyone says
Pareto.
it differently.
Okay, it's Pareto?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. And also Edgar Butler with State Farm Insurance. Definitely, State Farm has been a longstanding partner with Robinson, and we're looking for Kimberly to join our team of recruiting partners as well with some recruiting initiatives. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Marielle.
Thanks, Wanda. Hey, everybody. I hope that y'all are doing well. Happy Friday Eve to all of you. Anytime we do these, I always kind of like to do a quick check-in. So if you could, in the comments, just kind of let me know how you're doing. Are you good? You're okay? You're overwhelmed? You're frustrated? You're excited? Whatever that is. And also let us know what your classification is. So are you a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, graduate student? Kind of always like to know the audience that we're talking to. And so today I'm actually just going to walk you really quickly through how to actually properly register for the fair and just give you some tips. Of course, the fairs are virtual and they will take place on Handshake. If you have not registered, the fair is tomorrow. So you want to make sure you go ahead and do that. A lot of slots have already gotten filled. So we want to make sure that you get in there. So I'm going to share my screen really quickly with you. Okay, awesome. So this is a student's profile. This is the actual students. I'm actually going to use her profile. The first thing that I really want to tell you is you please make sure that your profile picture is appropriate. We have seen some profile pictures that are not appropriate. So we want to make sure that we have a professional profile picture. So if you cannot get a professional headshot, that's okay. Find a place in your house, your apartment that has, a clear background, one color wall, and just take a picture in front of that. Maybe have on a suit jacket, something to that nature. This is not Instagram. This is not Twitter. This is not Snapchat. None of those things. So we want to make sure that it is appropriate because employers do see that. All right. Many of you all usually ask us, well, what can we control that employers can see, can't see? So what cannot see, can see? My tongue is not working today. So you want to make sure that you have your major listed. You can control if they see your GPA or not. FYI, some students don't know that. You can also control if they see a resume or not on your profile. Please let me say this to you. You need to make sure your resume is on there. We are in a virtual space. And so you want to make sure and make this as easy as possible for employers to find you. And one of the key ways they're going to do that is through Handshake. You must make sure that your profile is marked to public. A lot of students still have their profiles on private. When you do that, employers cannot find you. So if they're looking for certain majors, or certain skill sets, because sometimes they'll search by skill within Handshake, they won't be able to find you if your profile is not on public. So you want to make sure that happens. And you also want to make sure that your resume, the most up-to-date resume, is on your profile. So during the fair, they can actually click on your name, go right to your profile, and then they can pull your resume if they need it. Please make sure you follow through with that. If you need help with trying to do that, I can walk you through that really quickly. I can't see the comments. So if you have questions, Wanda, if you can let me know if there's like a question or anything. So I'm just kind of going to run through Ashley's profile really quickly, show you how to register, and then I'm going to toss it over to our amazing employers that are here today. So you see Ashley has listed her major, her minor. She has her GPA. If you want to control if they can see the GPA or not, you'll click that little pencil that I just did. And you will scroll down and it can say hi from employer. So you can have it on there, but if you don't want them to really see that, you can do that. If you have a good GPA though, I would really say let the employer see that. That's just my personal opinion. From there, you want to make sure that your profile is complete. Please put all of your work history, internships. You see Ashley even has on here when she worked at Chick-fil-A. That's important because there are certain skill sets that you probably learned at that job that can pertain to something else. So you want to make sure that you just have everything filled out as necessary. The other big thing for me is courses. So you don't have to put all of your courses, but you do want to put courses that are incredibly pertinent to what could be beneficial to an internship or a job. So she has some here that are listed that are really important that an employer probably would pay attention to. Any projects that you've worked on, make sure all that's filled out, and especially make sure the skills section is filled out because they can search by skills in Handshake. So you want to make sure that every skill that you have is listed there. Okay. And of course you can see that her resume is here. So if I'm actually viewing this as a student, but I can show you the employer view and the employer will see this. So they'll be able to pull her resume. All right, so for those who have not registered for the fair, if you go into your Handshake, because many of you all have already been emailing me saying, hey, how do I access the fair tomorrow? So the fair will take place on Handshake. So you want to click events. I always like to filter. So you want to go to J. Mac Robinson there. And so all of our events will show up. Click show that. So then you can just click career fair. And there it is. So there's Expo for tomorrow. You'll click Expo. And I'm sorry, y'all, my computer is running a little slow on campus. Now, everybody usually nails this first step. You hit register. Awesome. But now you're not done. So you have to view employer sessions. If you do not register for an employer session, you're not participating in the fair. That's the only way you can participate is by registering for an employer session. So you want to go through the list to see what is available. So I see NCR has a group session tomorrow at 1 to 1:30, and they also have a 1:30 to a 2. So let's say if Ashley wants to go to the 1 p.m., she'll click that. Confirm, boom, she's done. The day of the fair, so tomorrow, you'll come back to this page. All of the sessions that you register for will be under your sessions. So when that time frame comes, so if it's 1 o'clock, when 1 o'clock hits, Ashley will log on, she'll go in, it'll take her to the session, okay? So she can also cancel her reservation if she needs to. I don't believe that the system will allow you to register for sessions that go on simultaneously. So just keep that in mind. If you, let's say, are like, oh my gosh, I want to do a one-on-one with NCR, but I don't see any one-on-one slots available, that could be one of two reasons. One, they've already filled up their slots, or two, you don't meet the qualification that the employer set for that particular thing. So one-on-one sessions, they can set qualifications for the type of student that actually can participate. So whether that's GPA, major, all of that. That's how you register properly. So make sure you do that. We see we got about 700 plus students registered, but we only got about 500 or so that have actually registered for sessions. Again, you are not attending the fair if you have not registered for a session. I will say this, typically at the end of the day, I'll send the resumes of all the students that participated in the fair. If you don't register for a session, your resume is not going to be included in that count. So please make sure that you are doing that. So when we send that out to employers, your resume is included. If you guys have any questions, if you guys have any concerns, feel free to email us at robinsoncac@gsu.edu. We can answer your questions pretty quickly today. If you are an undergraduate student, we will be hosting walk-in hours where I will be there. So if you need help, just kind of with your profile and trying to figure stuff out and how to make things private, how to make things public, you know, how to properly register, I'm more than happy to assist you. So feel free to just, you know, join us for those virtual walk-in hours. And you can find that on Handshake as well by going back to that events tab. And then you can, I think, if you just click this week, it should pop up. You may have to scroll a little bit. There it is. So if you're an undergraduate student, I can help you during our walk-in hours. So feel free to email us if you have any questions at robinsoncsc@gsu.edu. We're here to help you. And I look forward to seeing y'all at the fair. So Wanda, I'm gonna toss it back over to you.
Okay, I have a couple of questions for you. See, one student said, there are a few employees who are not taking any individual sessions. How do you contact them?
If they have a group session, you can chat during that group session. You can ask questions and ask the employer, can you reach out to them during that time? If not, contact me. Still send that email at robinsoncsc@gsu.edu. And just tell me what employer, and I'll see what I can do. I can't make promises, but I can see what I can do.
There's another student that said, what about if you have back-to-back sessions? And afraid they may run late, jumping from one session to another session.
That's fine. You won't be penalized, or it won't lock you out if you're running a little bit behind. That's totally okay. I think I just saw somebody that said they just uploaded their resume in Handshake. Yes, please contact your career counselor or coach. They need to approve that. So you're all set for tomorrow. So if you don't know who that is, we can give you guidance on that. But please make sure if you just uploaded a resume, I would say within this week, and if it's still marked as pending, you need to contact your counselor or your coach, and they need to approve it for you.
Marielle, you may want to reiterate about the BCom session again. I think some students are just logging on and missed that.
Sure. So if you're in this session and you are a BCom student, you want to take a screenshot of this for you to get credit, and that's what you will upload to iCollege.
And there's a question about a professional background. Should it be white or a Robinson theme? A white background or Robinson theme?
I would go with a white background. And I'll let our employers also answer that question when they're talking.
Yes, absolutely.
But I would say make it as clean as possible. And then make sure we see your face, because I've seen a couple of students, they're like way off in the distance, so you can't even see their faces. So just make sure that it's a nice shot, not too close up either, but a good distance, so we can see your beautiful faces, and just make sure that you're dressed professionally. Somebody said, so we need approval to upload a resume. Yes. So once it's uploaded, it's going to be marked as pending. So you want to contact the CAC to approve that for you.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Marielle.
Sure.
All right. So we have, again, 2 guest employers. They're going to share with you some best practices on how to navigate a career fair, virtual one. And I'm going to let Kimberly start off since she's the new kid on the block here with Robinson. Go ahead, Kimberly.
Okay, great. So should I just share tips or?
Yes, introduce yourself and your employer.
Okay, great. Well, yes, you should always introduce yourself. So that's a great tip. So I'm Kimberly Cutts. I'm from Pareto. We're a healthcare captive company. And so we do really innovative things within the healthcare space. However, there's a ton of different roles within our company, such as HR, marketing, etc. I'm very excited to be here and to kind of help with some of the tips. I definitely agree with what the ladies were saying earlier about the clean backgrounds. I think that is great. While the Robinson logo is wonderful, I think as an employer, kind of shuffling through a lot of different people, it's easy to see your face and different things with the clean background. Any other tips that I should focus on?
We'll get into those after Edgar introduces himself.
Okay, great.
Go ahead, Edgar.
Hello, everyone. My name is Edgar Butler. I'm a talent brand specialist with State Farm. State Farm is the #1 P&C insurer in the United States. a Fortune 36 organization. A lot of people look at State Farm and say, hey, State Farm sells insurance. Like, yes, we do. That's one side of the organization. I actually work on the operations side. So I recruit for interns, full-time and part-time. And we have everything that any other major organization would have, from marketing, accounting, finance, human resources, claims, underwriting, data scientists, data analysts, actuarial statisticians. We have nurses, airplane pilots, and technicians. So we cover the gamut. So always want to make sure that students are fully aware of all the opportunities that we have at State Farm. And again, I have a great relationship with the career services at Robinson College, and just love working with you also. Looking forward to an awesome time today.
Great, thank you. Thank you both for doing that. Also, as a reminder, we do have our virtual career fair with Robinson tomorrow. I did put in the chat the link to the Career Expo. We will also be taking questions as well from students. So if you have questions, you're free to put them in the chat box as well. What I'd like to do at this moment, I'd just like to take the pulse of the students out there that may have never participated in a virtual career fair platform. If you have not, just type the word never in the chat box so we can get an assessment of what our audience looks like. Oh, it's quite a few popping up. Never, never. A lot of nevers. So that's to give the employers a talking point of where to start with. So yeah, we're still getting never. A lot of students have never participated on a virtual career platform. So maybe with the first question I'd like to ask is exactly what is kind of the purpose of a virtual career platform, and what should students expect from a general sense? So Kimberly or Edgar, would you like to take a shot at that?
Sure. I can try, and then Edgar can definitely pick up what I missed. I'm sure I'll miss some parts. So I think that the goal for at least our company is really to meet a lot of students and to kind of see what it is that the students are looking for, just as much as we're looking for different new talent to come onto our organization. And so it's just as if we look at it just as if it was an in-person fair, to really kind of see what else is out there, see what's going on in the industry, and then also meet as many talented people as possible.
And I'll add on to that. Like, the virtual career fair definitely has heightened now that we're in this stage of COVID. And so virtual career fairs were around prior to that. It also gives a way for employers to be able to actually connect with candidates that may not necessarily have been in that state, in that market. And so there was still an opportunity for candidates that were out of state to still be able to connect with an organization, connect with many organizations while they're doing a career fair. But since we are in this COVID environment now, and shelter in place got put in, and so it really changed a lot of things for employers and the way that we connect with potential candidates. And so this has definitely been, I would say, a win now, because it still gives candidates an opportunity to be able to connect with companies, and companies an opportunity to still connect with candidates in a different way. There's a lot of features that have now been added on. It used to be just like a lot of chat, typing, but now they have video capabilities as well. And so I would say that, with this environment that we have, get yourself familiar as much as possible with the virtual career fairs, because I see that they will be around for a while, especially as long as we're in this current COVID environment.
Thanks, Edgar. So that definitely touched on a lot of advantages. You definitely touched on a lot of advantages of participating in a virtual fair. Another question is, what are just some basic tips that you can provide to students right now in regards to navigating a virtual fair?
So here's a couple of things that I would say. Like, there's a lot of tips that we could definitely get into. One of the things that I would say is, as you all are preparing, there's a certain way to go about it, right? So the first thing is researching the company. Make sure that you're researching the companies that are going to be there. So you want to approach this similar to what you would do in person career fairs, right? So knowing the organizations that are going to be there, you want to be prepared to be able to have some conversation with these specific organizations and know a little bit about the organizations as well. So do your research on the companies that are going to be there, and then have a strategic plan in place of who you wanted to connect with at these career fairs. So you're not going in on day one. I know Mario was talking about it, like you have to sign up for some of these even in advance, but you don't want to go in and just say like, okay, I'll see what's going to happen or what's going to be there when I get into career fair. You want to have a strategic plan of saying like, I know I want to talk with this company. And so that way you can research those organizations to make sure that you are prepared to have a little bit of knowledge as you're going in and having these conversations in the booth with these with these companies. Another thing is have your resume accessible, right? So if you're going to upload your resume, you also want to make sure that you have it accessible for yourself as well. So if there's any questions that come up about your resume, you want to make sure that you have that so you can speak to any of those questions. Be prepared to ask pertinent questions. So making sure that the questions that as you're having this opportunity to engage with reps, you want to make sure that you have pertinent questions that are readily available. So not questions that you can find on their website, right? Not questions that are on the job description. You want to make valuable use of this time. So you want to be able to come away with this with some additional information that's going to be beneficial to you as you're looking to pursue an opportunity, with this organization. So those are just a couple of tips that I'll mention. I'll give Kimberly an opportunity. There's a few more things that we can talk about as we continue to go along, but I think those are definitely some topics.
Okay, we can circle back to those as well if you feel they're important. So go ahead, Kimberly.
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything that Edgar was saying. I think that you can use those all in an in-person one as well. I think the biggest thing for, people who are not used to a virtual fair on the interviewing side is to make sure all the technology and angles and lighting and sound and all of that is, perfect. And that's all of things that can be in your control. And so they're not distracting. So if someone is not, used to interviewing on the employer side virtually, they're going to be very distracted by those things. And so making sure you have, earbuds, so not sounds outside, and making sure your lighting is good and the camera angle and all of that. I think too, what Edgar was saying, have your resume ready and also ask for their email address, right? They can just chat that to you right there. And so you can make sure that you can email them a thank you afterwards, or you have that contact. You can ask if you can link up with them on LinkedIn or different things like that. You have the virtual capability there to actually do the chatting right in the vFair or, platform that you're using. So I think those, and then I just to what, Edgar was saying, having the questions that are, important, making the best use of the time. I think a great question you could always ask if you maybe are stuck or not sure what to say is, what's the culture like there? Your day-to-day culture, what is it like to do that? And you could ask anyone that, because that's very important. And it kind of helps to kind of also break the ice, I feel like.
Thank you. And Mario mentioned about expounding on the virtual background, and I'd like to get the employer's perspective on that as well, on your preference on that type of background that students should use when they're on a virtual career fair platform.
So this is my take on it, right? So you see a background of State Farm right now, but this is a different environment, correct?
Okay.
And so as you're looking to do this, again, staying in that mindset of, this is an opportunity for me, a professional opportunity, along with the fact of treating it just as you would in person. Yes, we do have, the capabilities to, doctor up a few things now, but you really want the focus to be on you. Right? Again, just as you were going into a live career fair, like you wouldn't have a background. You're going to go there with, not a lot of jewelry and things on. So you don't want really anything to take away from you and this time that you have with employers and reps. And so I would say, just as Mario mentioned, like we're going to go with a clean background, right? Not a lot of distraction in the back, just as Kimberly mentioned, not a lot going on. You want them to be focused on you and the conversation and the interactions that you have with them.
Any thoughts on that, Kimberly?
I definitely agree. I think that is, and we're in a new world now. And so you might be, for circumstances, you might be in a place that you're not going to be working at. So say you're in a kitchen or you're in, somewhere that the background is distracting. You can say, hey, I had to put up something because I'm here and this is not where I'd be working. This is, somewhere that's just temporary right now. I wanted to, put my best foot forward. I've had a lot of candidates say that to me, but they stress that this is not where I'd be, if I was working here. Because that's my first question then is like, okay, well then, we have to start remotely. And so kind of, we have some challenges like that, but I definitely agree. You want to have a clean, not distracting background so you can focus on the interviewer and the interviewer can focus on you.
And touching on background, we can elaborate and talk about that professional attire look as well, if you all can reiterate the importance of that.
Yeah, so again, you're approaching this just as you would if you were in person. Right? And so you want to, now, every career fair doesn't have the ability to do video. And so that's one of the things that you will want to research and to see if that's available. I know Handshake does. And so with that, you want to make sure that you are prepared to be on video. So I'm pretty sure Kimberly has some stories as well in the recruiting space when we do virtual interviews now and on-demand video interviews. We've seen some of everything, right? People laying in the bed doing the interview, people in the closet, people in their pajamas. And so you have to look at it and say, okay, if you were in the position of hiring someone, like, would you hire this person or would you really want to take them seriously from a professional standpoint to say, like, if you're going to go at this opportunity that lackadaisical, then how are you going to approach the work? So when you have the opportunity to go ahead and prepare ahead of time, as Kimberly mentioned, so I think one of the great things about the virtual environment is the fact that you can control some factors, meaning that if you know the day and the time of the virtual career fair, carve out that time to where like, hey, tell your friends, family, whoever, from this time to this time, please no distractions. Turn your phone on silent, right? Go ahead and set the place up in advance. Know where you're going to do the virtual career fair at days ahead. So that way, this is going to be my place. I don't have to scramble around to try to find anything. I know I won't be distracted. My lighting is good. And then the other thing is go ahead and pick out what you plan to wear days ahead of time. You can go ahead and get all of these things out of the way. So that way it's not you're not in a situation where you're trying to rush or you're scrambling to find out certain things. Go ahead and mentally prepare as well as physically prepare yourself days ahead. So when you're actually ready for the career fair, this is the place I'm going to do the career fair. This is what I'm going to wear. And this is where I know I won't be distracted. So all of my attention can be focused strictly on me presenting myself in the best way possible.
Okay, thank you for that response. I know there are some questions coming in the chat, Mariel. I was trying to see some of those questions. Did any stand out to you that?
Yes, I'm trying to find it, but I think one student asked, for someone with limited work/intern experience, what are some tips on how to market yourself?
We're both going. Okay, great.
I'm sorry.
I think a great way to market yourself is, to talk about transferable skills. So if you, had a big project and you had to work with a lot of different personalities, how did you do that? You can talk about different skill sets that would be, something that you would kind of encounter within the work environment. And I think you can also ask questions to the interviewer and say, give me some examples or hypothetical questions that I'd find myself in, and I can say how I would think that I would react or do that. So very situational, behavioral questions and kind of hypotheticals works well.
There's another question the student asked, if you have a home office already, is it okay to share that background instead of a virtual one?
Definitely, it's natural. Yeah,
okay.
So I would say, yeah, definitely. I would encourage that, right?
Okay. Another question would be, what are some of the main items that employers are looking for when they're actually engaged on that virtual career fair platform? What are the traits or qualifications that you're wanting to see in that moment?
So So one thing to think about is this is still a form of communication, whether it's chatting, writing, typing it out, or if it's going to be verbal. This is still a form of communication. And so again, if you were in a live in-person career fair, then you're going to want to present those communication skills. You want to be engaging. You want to be personable. And so it's the same thing. We still want to see that come across, because in this virtual environment, guess what? If you're doing the work and you're dealing with customers, you're dealing with business partners, we're still going to want to see, your personality and your character in the work that you do in that type of environment. So this is another way for you to show off those communication skills, your engagement. So as you're, engaging, whether it's typing, you want to make sure that you're keeping that conversation going, that it's not a lot of lull in between, like, okay, I type something out and then I start doing something else and minutes go by, they don't know if I'm still there or not. And so you want to stay as engaged as possible. And then if it's video, same thing. You want to be able to show those communication skills, be engaged. So that way, that's where the preparation comes in of having good questions that you want to ask, making sure that you have a greeting, your opening pitch, your elevator pitch, all of those things ready to go. Just still know that this is a form of communication and engagement, and you want to take advantage of that.
Absolutely. I definitely concur with that. That communication piece is still just as important. Kimberly, did you have anything that you are looking for?
No, I really agree with that. I think that, we want to obviously enjoy our conversation on both ends. And so someone that's, really excited to be there and personable is great. I kind of remember this one story I did a virtual fair and I met with hundreds of students and I asked every single one, how are you liking the virtual fair? And every single one said, I'm so excited that the school allowed this and, we're doing it, except one student was like, I'm really mad that we're not in person. And that stood out to me, that they weren't kind of making the most of the opportunity and seeing it. So I think just being personable and, just really kind of taking advantage of all the opportunities and the flexibility that, the schools are doing to allow this is what I would be looking for.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you. Another question. Can you explain the importance of your LinkedIn account as it relates to your job search?
Yeah, so it is important. So we looked at some statistics and, for LinkedIn, LinkedIn is considered to be the professional site. It's another way for employers to be able to go out and check out some certain things. Like everything doesn't get included on your resume. All right. You don't cram everything on your resume. So there could be additional skills and experiences that you have that may not have made it on the resume that you may have on LinkedIn. So that's another place that employers can, I don't say that they all do it, but they can go to just to get a different understanding and feel for some of the experiences and skills that you bring to the table. And so you definitely want to, I would say, have a professional LinkedIn set up to where it speaks to some of your skills and experiences there, to where if that employer does choose to go out there, then they're still going to be able to gauge like the type of individual you are, the type of candidate that you are. And so looking at some statistics, there was a major increase on LinkedIn after we got, sheltered in place in COVID. Right. So it was, I want to say there was Social Media Today put out a report in October of 2020 that said in January of 2020, there was 675 million users on LinkedIn. By October 2020, there was 722 million users on LinkedIn. And so we're talking about like 30-something% increase or something somewhere around there. So LinkedIn is definitely a place that the usage has increased a lot, especially with us being in this current COVID environment. So I would say that is very important.
And I know that LinkedIn is definitely the #1 professional network website. Are you aware of any other professional network websites? I know professional organizations as well, or anything like that.
Yep, I know that there's some out there, but like you said, LinkedIn is the top one. That's where you can, get engaged with, reps. And so I would say, and more so than just using LinkedIn for your profile, use it as a networking tool and a networking to relationship building tool. You can also gather a lot of great information from LinkedIn, meaning that if there's a company that you want to connect with, you can go out to LinkedIn and you can start connecting with recruiters, hiring managers, people that work in a certain field within that company, and you can connect with them on LinkedIn. You can start following them. And the great thing about, following and connecting with hiring people, hiring managers and recruiters for a specific company is a lot of the times what we share on LinkedIn is what we're looking for our organization. So now you're getting tips specific directly from someone that's doing the hiring. On top of that, you can learn about where the direction of the industry is going, what that organization is doing, when they're posting jobs. So there's a big benefit to connecting with people in that industry that you're looking to get into on LinkedIn. And just by following them, you can gain a lot of valuable and beneficial information.
Okay, thanks. Kimberly, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
I definitely agree with everything that's there. And we're one of the companies that definitely pivoted towards doing a ton on LinkedIn. We do a lot of our recruiting on there. We post our jobs, and our entire team actually shares them. So someone who's connected with my teammate is going to see that job that was posted. And so having different connections, having different groups that you're associated with on there, and different things like that are really important. And speaking back to the pictures, again, it's a professional site, so you should have a professional photo on there, and just professional posts and different kind of activities within there, because that's we're able to see that on the recruiter end of it. So if you are posting or commenting something that might be unprofessional, when we're looking, we can actually see that. And so just being very professional on there as well. But yes, I agree with everything that he was saying, and definitely connect with as many people as possible, because that's how you're going to have visibility, and you're going to get visibility as well.
All right, thank you. All right, so we all know about the elevator pitch. So can you, recruiters, speak to the importance of, pitching the elevator pitch virtually now? We know what it looks like face to face.
Well, I was nervous to give mine in the beginning of this. So I know how nerve-wracking it is, but I do think that it's important. And I do think, just having one prepared, I tell every candidate, and then obviously new employee, to have theirs, because once you are actually hired, we're going to introduce you to how many people. And so having that elevator pitch is really important. You get the points out, that are needed to know, and people can kind of see a bit of your personality within it. It's a first impression. It's very important. Hence why I was nervous. I get it. And I think that I don't have any great tips on how to make it better, but I'm sure Edgar probably does, and I could steal some of them myself.
What about you, Edgar?
Yeah, so there's two things to think about when you're talking about your elevator pitch when you're doing it virtually. So again, some of these platforms only allow chat. So as you're thinking about it, have your opening pitch typed out, right? So use a Word document for questions as well as your opening pitch. Go ahead and have it on there, because some of these are timed. And so what you want to do is to be able to copy and paste, or maybe copy and make small tweaks to it to fit whoever you're talking with. So having an opening pitch or your elevator pitch already written out or typed out to where you can make small tweaks and just copy and paste and add it into a conversation, that's one thing. The other thing is again, if there's a video involved, you're going to be able to pitch that verbally, just as you would if you were in person. So have, that short statement ready to go that talks about your skills, your experiences, what you bring to the table, how it would be valuable, how you will be able to transfer those over into the specific position that you may be putting into, how this is going to help not only you be successful in the role, but help the organization be successful as well. And so that's two things just to think about. Again, if you're pitching it, written, already have this, planned out where you can copy, paste, and make tweaks to it. And then if you're going to be pitching this verbally, it will be just as you would if you were in person.
Absolutely. And again, like I said, practice. You can practice this elevator pitch using platforms. You can record yourself.
That's one of the things that I always encourage is hey, Lakeisha, I always encourage the practice piece. And one of the things, the one that you just mentioned that I'm a big fan of is everyone has a smartphone, right?
Right.
So take your phone, record yourself giving this, Go back and watch it. Not only you watch it, but find people that you know will be able to give you constructive feedback. So your career services counselors, send it to them and allow them to be able to critique it for you. If you have connections with recruiters or hiring managers, send it to them and allow them to critique it for you even before you get to these virtual career fairs. And that way you can go ahead and get feedback, make adjustments, and then as you're getting ready to go to the virtual career fair, you feel like you're in a good space with being able to pitch your elevator.
We also have a template for all students that
Yes.
we can send to you guys called IEC that helps you prepare and develop your elevator pitch so that when it is time, you're not too nervous and you can get all the jitters out. So we have that information for you too. We'll make sure we put it in the chat because we want to make sure that you are trying to feel somewhat comfortable when having to do that in front of these wonderful employees.
You can send it to me too. I'll try.
I will.
And this is Lakeisha Hughes. She's one of our undergraduate career coaches. And that's for my graduate students out there that may not know who she is. Okay, I think I saw a question about a student about being accepted to honor societies. How does that impact, or do employers look at that when you're in a virtual career fair setting, when you're engaged with employers and students?
I think, I think anything that you're accepted into, whether it's that, clubs, sports, anything that you're doing, I think that really kind of goes into the elevator pitch and who you are. And so I definitely think that that's an important thing to note and kind of get across to an employer. It is hard, speaking on the employer side, and I'll let Edgar say this too, you see how many resumes and how many different things. And sometimes, especially if it's within a certain school, sometimes they're all the templates or all the resumes are through a template. They do look similar. And so getting something like that verbally out to make you stand out is important.
Okay, thank you. I also see that we have Julie, one of our graduate career coaches. I don't know if she's online. She's on mute right now.
I'm here.
Okay, great. And I know we have some graduate students that are here also on the virtual career fair platform. Didn't know if there's some tips that you can provide as it relates, for graduate students as well that you may want to reiterate while we have this audience here.
Well, I think the presenters have already done such a great job of covering everything. I just wanted to piggyback on some of their recommendations about preparation, identifying opportunities within the company that you would like to specifically address, professional dress and lighting, it does matter. And having a neutral background, or at least, if you can't find a blank wall, just make it as uncluttered as possible and figure that out the night before, not the day of. I also noticed in some of my coaching sessions that students, when they get excited about communicating, I understand that, people can get energetic when they're talking, but try to hold still when you're talking to someone and not move around too much. Don't lean in and lean away and move side to side. It can be very distracting. So do your best to stay still when you're having a conversation with a recruiter. But other than that, I mean, you guys have done a great job of advising students. Thank you.
Thanks, Julie. Yes, everything has definitely been helpful. Want to see if we have some more questions from students in the chat. I think we may have covered some of them. I don't know if I missed any.
I don't see any. Tiana, I think that's how you say your name. We'll see if we can get that link to you. I will say this, I did want to say something because I've been noticing it in other virtual events. Please make sure that you are dressed professionally when your camera comes on. And please make sure that wherever you are, that you're not in a cluttered space. We've had some students come on with employers with bonnets on. That is completely unprofessional. You want to make sure that you look appropriate, just like you would in face-to-face with them in an interview. So please make sure that if you're going to turn the camera on, which I hope that you will, because that's more engaging in that way, that you look professional, that the environment that you're in is professional as well.
Okay, thank you. There's a question that came across, and this is to the recruiters. Is it common for recruiters to let you know if you did well and if they're interested in you as a candidate? How does that look in the virtual space now?
For me, I definitely would, and I definitely would also. I think a great question. You have to have, ego resilience to ask this, but to say, is there anything I could have done better? Is, did I hit the mark? Is there, what would the next steps look like on your end? When can I expect to hear from you? Those things. You are putting the recruiter on the spot, so you do have to make sure that you're okay. If they say, we won't be moving forward, or this is what you could work on, et cetera, which I think is a great thing. And if someone that I was on the fence with or thinking no to said that to me and was able to take that feedback and say, hey, I'm nervous, or I would do this differently the next time, I have moved people forward from that. So I think it's a a good question. And I do like to tell candidates where they are within the process and when they would hear from me. But I think it's always great to follow back up with them as well.
From my experience interviewing, a question that I would ask is that in light of the interview I had with you today, do you see me as a good fit? Again, just trying to gauge where I stand as it relates to the other candidates with that particular position. Did you have anything to add, Edgar, in regards to that?
No, I think Kimberly definitely hit the mark with that.
Okay. So do we have any more questions from the students while we have the employers online?
So a couple of questions actually. So Lisa asked, to piggyback off of Grace's question, can you email a recruiter after the interview and ask for feedback, or is that too eager?
I would say if it's truly an interview for a specific role, this is my take on it.
Okay.
If you're going through the process at that time, I don't say that you ask for the feedback like right after you've had, the interview, or, right then as you're still going through the process. Now, I do encourage getting feedback if you did not get the role, right? But, we don't know, like if you are getting the role, then yeah, you've done great, but they may not be able to tell you that right now if you're still going through the process, right? So the answer may be generic. And so I kind of say like, okay, if you're going to follow up with them, you may be following up with them to see where you are in the process, but not necessarily feedback about the interview until the decision has been made. Because if you're getting the role, then it's like, okay, I did well, right? Or if you're not getting the role, then yes, you want to hear that feedback of what you can work on for the future. So I think it just depends on how that actual interview goes. Because in some cases, as we're doing virtual career fairs, we may not necessarily be doing an actual interview at that time. And one of the reasons why is because for State Farm, you have to actually apply for the job on our system before we can actually consider you for this specific role. So it's not really a full-blown interview. It could be like informational interview, and then we need you to apply through our system, and then we get you into an actual interview. So it just really depends, but some companies they do a full-blown interview at the virtual career fair. So it really just depends on what type of session it was. And then again, if it is a true interview, asking for the feedback like the day after or something like that of how well did I do? Well, if they're still considering, they may not give you like, hey, we're still considering candidates, or, definitely once you've gotten the response back, I definitely encourage you.
And there's a question I'd like to ask, because now we're at a virtual career fair settings, that employers can do one-on-one sessions or group sessions with students. Now, is there any particular protocol as it relates to how the employer will conduct that virtual group session and the one-on-one session?
I know when we've had it is everyone's, so they may be doing, so different platforms do it different ways, right? You can have everyone in one session, and as people are coming in, they're jumping in, and they may have recruiters waiting to respond to people as they're coming in. And so everyone's in this one group together. So you could have 10 people in there at the same time, putting in their questions. And then you may have recruiters say, hey, are you available for us to take this to a private chat? Or you have the opportunity at times with certain platforms to request a private chat with a recruiter. So it depends on the actual platform. So there are times to where you could all be in there together with 10 other people and you all are asking your question, and they may have 10 recruiters in there. So what we're doing on the back end is saying, okay, I have Gretchen, or I have Spencer, I have Jessica, and we're responding back to you in that way. And then again, we could move that over to a private chat. I always encourage this. If the private chat feature is available, utilize it. Just because now you get the attention of this person one-on-one, it may make you a little bit more comfortable as you have this one-on-one dialogue. Some people are a little bit afraid of putting their question in an open chat where everyone can see it. And then there's some questions that may be specifically about you and the opportunity that you have for a job. You may be saying, hey, I already applied. They may say, okay, let me go pull your resume and application. So there's different ways to engage in that. But I would always say, if the private chat is available, if a one-on-one chat is available, take advantage of that. So now you can get, connected with this person and you can have their attention, just you and them.
Absolutely. And like you said, it just depends on that particular platform, how that's set
I
up.
wonder if I can hop in for tomorrow.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, for tomorrow for Handshake, if you're in a group session, if there are more than 15 students, so let's say you come in first and your camera is on, they can see you. But once it hits 15, the system will automatically turn your camera off just for bandwidth. So you're going to have the chat available to you to ask questions. Employers can see that. So you can utilize that for the one-on-ones. The camera can be on. You can have a normal, just like we are right now, like on Zoom. So you can have that type of interaction. But if you're in a group session and it's more than 15 students, your camera it will turn your camera off. So I would highly recommend you look at the chat and, any questions students have, piggyback off it, just like a lot of you all are doing right now. And the employers are paying attention because typically there's at least 3 or 4 of them. So somebody is responsible for looking at that chat. So they will answer your question, I promise.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anything else employers would like to add, or any other questions here?
There's several questions, actually.
Okay.
One question says, what kind of questions are appropriate to ask recruiters? How can we navigate a conversation with the recruiter in a one-on-one session post the elevator pitch?
For me, I always think you can go back to kind of situational and examples and those kinds of questions. So asking a recruiter, what does a day-to-day, look like there? And then kind of piggybacking off of that and saying, oh, that kind of reminds me of this that I did here or that, and kind of, using behavioral and situational questions is helpful for me. And I think appropriate and easily transferable regardless of the audience or the role or any of that.
Okay.
One thing for me, because I also saw a question in there, is are there questions that employers don't like? I don't necessarily want to use the term don't like, but I'll tell you this, do your research. Like one of my pet peeves is when someone just sends me a resume and says, hey, can you tell me what is a good opportunity for me? I'm like, okay, so please do some legwork. Like don't put it all on me, right? Because I could say that I feel that you're a good fit for this based on what I see, but you might be like, well, I don't really want to do that. Okay, we just wasted time there. So go out and do your research, see what opportunities are available at that organization. So as you're having that one-on-one dialogue, you can ask questions that, again, are going to be beneficial to you being successful in finding out more about that role, seeing that's a role that you're interested in. You can discuss skill sets, what they're looking for those roles. But just as in State Farm, we have so many roles. So just to go in and say, hey, I have these skills and experiences, like where does it fit? Well, like that could take a while. And we could really take up the whole conversation and not really get you in the right direction of, hey, I'm really focused on this opportunity and there's an opportunity available right now. So let's discuss that and how you best match that. Maybe some of the things that you can work on. Do we need to do some tweaks for your resume to make it stand out for this role? But let's narrow it down. And so we can go in with a little bit more focus as opposed to just saying, hey, I'm here and, I'm a great person. Can you tell me if you have something in your company?
Mhm. One thing I'd like to bring up, I got an email from a coach, a student had a question about employers that were registered for the virtual fair tomorrow on Handshake, that some of the employers had none, they didn't list their job titles. So the feedback that I gave that student was that, as Edgar mentioned, go out to that website, even if they didn't post any jobs that they were recruiting for the fair, go out to their website to review what opportunities they have that you would be interested in. And then that could be a talking point for you because they registered for sessions and they were thinking, do I need to cancel them because they didn't have any jobs out there? But you don't want to miss that opportunity. So again, do your research, see what opportunities they have. And when you speak to them one-on-one in that virtual space, you can say, hey, I went out to your website and I saw this opportunity. Could you tell me more about it, or something to that effect? Kimberly, did you have anything to add to that?
I don't think so. I think what you both said, I agree with. We've all been to the career fairs where we have the candidates come up and say that, and it's after talking all day long, kind of, we shouldn't be explaining our company to you. You should be doing your elevator pitch to us. And so I think that I definitely agree with that. And I think sometimes in my company, it's a smaller company. It's not at the scale of State Farm. However, it's a great company. And sometimes what we do is we find great talent and then create a role. So there might not be an opening, so to speak, for that. So I think doing your research, finding out about the company, finding out where you could be a good fit, and then selling yourself to that is something that you might have to do on some companies.
Absolutely. Right. Marielle, were there any other questions I might have missed in the chat?
Yeah. Oh, one more thing, guys, just in case you guys don't know, in Handshake, and we'll add this link too, we have Vault, which we use Vault as our system that allows you to do research for companies. So you have access to all the tools and materials you need through Handshake from the CAC through Vault. So we'll add that link for you too, because that'll help you do a lot of great company research before you do meet with the employers and speak with them in reference to what you're looking to do, because they don't know what you want to do. Don't make them guess. Right. They don't want to guess. They need to know so they can have an idea, like they said, and place you where you would like to go. So we'll send that link to you as well.
Definitely. It's still about selling yourself again. You still got to sell yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's I will tag on to that. Okay. Like that is great what you just said, like sell yourself, right? So if you got hundreds of students that are coming in there, like what are you doing that's going to separate you from everyone else? Right. Like how are they going to remember you after, just as Kimberly said, we've talked to so many students and candidates, like what is going to make me remember you out of all the people that I've talked to? And so just think about some of those things of how are you going to separate yourself from everyone else, and how are you going to make yourself memorable after this is all over with? So whether it's, making sure that there's a visual there, the questions that you asked were engaging, they were outside of what the norm is. And so make sure that you walk away with this saying, like, I put my best foot forward, and I know that they're going to remember me, whether it's on my unique story or my elevator pitch or something that they're going to remember me by after this is all over.
Great. Thank you for that. Thank you, Lakeisha, for that resource, providing that resource.
You had one more question. Well, two questions. One was, can students ask if they get the contact information of Edgar and Kimberly, or some way to stay in touch with you? So maybe that's a LinkedIn, link or something to that degree. So that was one question. The other question was regarding the background. Is it appropriate to be on camera showing my bed behind me, or do I find a better place to turn on my video? Do you think it's better to show a white background instead of our workroom?
Is your bed made? That's the question. I mean, personally, I think I have a lot of candidates that are in their bedroom or in something like that. And again, I just, as long as it's neat, not distracting, not, just very, very clean, I guess is the way to kind of look at it. And then saying, would you be working there? That's what I ask everyone. I said, would you have a dedicated, quiet space, for that? And while your bed might be in the background, that's okay. Maybe if you just turn a little bit to the one side or something, just play with the angles. Do just like Edgar was saying, record yourself and do those different things. Like see yourself on your phone and what it looks like for the other person. And you might be surprised that just a little tilt one way or the other might change the whole view of it. But it's not, as long as the room is clean and you can explain that, I don't foresee that being a problem. But
Okay.
Yeah, I'm with Kimberly on that. Like,
Mhm.
I think right now, just because of, there's some leeway being given in some instances, right?
Yes. Mhm.
Just because of where we are currently, like, people, we can't hardly get out of the house
Right.
and can't go to too many places and find different things. And so we have to work with what we
Right.
have. And so I think that there is some leniency on certain things like, I'm not going to penalize you just because you're in bed. Now, if you, again, were in the bedroom and your bed isn't made up, well, you could have controlled that piece, right? You could have just made the bed up. So definitely that's something that you want to make sure that you, take full advantage of. But I would say being, in a comfortable place, that's the other thing about a virtual career fair. You have, if you want to call it, you have home field advantage, right? You can be wherever you're most comfortable at, but just make sure that you don't get too comfortable to where it is like, okay, I had a lapse in judgment here and I'm just going to lay in the bed and do the interview or something like that.
Absolutely. And then when you talk about the circumstances that students are interviewing under, they could be having roommates, could be in an apartment setting, it could be a dorm, and you still kind of have that bedroom setting that you have to work with. So just make it as clean and professional as possible, like you mentioned. Great. Any other questions?
I have had a few students ask about their resumes being approved. Please try to get that uploaded. I'm going to say before 4 o'clock so your coach and your counselor has time to approve that for you tomorrow. I'm going to put a link right now in the chat so you know who your coach and your counselor is. If you're an undergraduate student, if you come to walk-in hours between 2 and 4 today, we probably can get that knocked out for you really quickly so you're set and ready to go for tomorrow. But I'm about to put the link in the chat so you can figure out who your coach and counselor is.
Good. Thanks, Marielle. So Kimberly, Edgar, do you have any closing remarks? I think we've just about covered all the ground here today.
I think there was one other question in here that I saw, and I just want to make sure that it says, aside from career fairs, what is the best way to reach out to recruiters on LinkedIn?
Okay.
So if you connected with someone, during the career fair and, I'm pretty sure that they're probably open to the connection there on LinkedIn. I know I am. I know Kimberly probably is as well. And so one of the things that I say is, make it genuine when you're reaching out. I don't recommend using templates. Like, again, I'm always looking for what's my advantage? Like, how am I separating myself from everyone else? So if the templates are there for everyone to use, like my chances of now being different than everyone are probably, they're less and less because this template everyone can use. So when you're reaching out, I would say, tell me something that interests you about why you're wanting to connect with me. Like, what is it that, what's the reason behind it? Is there, you're interested in the organization, you did some research on it, you saw that there's, some great opportunities there, you love the, what you've heard about, the culture of the organization, but tell me something that stands out to you of why you want to make this connection. And so that's one of the things that normally catches my attention is when someone reaches out and I can see that it's genuine. I have some people that reach out, and Kimberly, I'm probably sure that you get the same thing, is that when a position goes up and they've never connected before, like, I don't know this person, and they reach out and say, hey, can you refer me to X, Y, and Z? Or, hey, can you pull my resume? not to say that I can't pull the resume, but there's not really a lot of emphasis put on it from a special place of I can go to bat for this person because I don't know you, right? So this is a blind reach out. And so we've not connected to build up any relationship prior to that. So yes, I can pull it and I'm going to look at your qualifications, but it's not like I'm going to give it special consideration because I get hundreds of people that reach out when a position has been put up. So I always say when you're researching an organization and you know that this is a company that you feel strongly about, like, hey, I've seen some great things about this company. I think this is a place that I would love to learn more about. The best time to do the connection is when there's no position up. So now you can build the relationship. So when a position does come up, guess what? Now you have an advocate for you within the organization because they know what you bring to the table. They kind of feel a little bit comfortable about you. They know your interests. And so when you're reaching out, just make it genuine. And so that way this person does feel like, hey, you've taken some time to do your research. You've taken some time to go ahead and make this genuine connection as opposed to, hey, I'm just trying to connect with people and I'm going to send this out to however many people I can.
Those are definitely good points. Any other questions that have come in since the last line of questions?
No, I think we're set. I had a student private message me, but I can answer this question publicly.
Okay.
He asked for virtual walk-in hours. Do we have to have a registration time? No, you do not. You can drop in between 2 and 4.
Mhm.
Please don't come at like 3:56. Like at appropriate time, but yeah, you can drop in between.
Please. But we're here to help you from 2 to 4 with any of your needs, though.
Right.
And I just put the link to Vault in the comments as well. That's what Keisha was referring to. That can help you with your research. So.
Very good. Well, this has definitely been very informative. I think we've covered the gamut here on Virtual Career Fair, and that I guess employers shared some great best practices, and our coaches had some tips and resources. What I'd like to do as relates to students who said they've never worked a virtual fair, been on that platform, go out there and try to familiarize yourself with any information as it relates to that on how to navigate a virtual career fair platform. I will try to, I think I have a link here that I can put in the chat as it relates to navigating on the Handshake career fair platform tips for students. So I'm going to add that in closing. Any other closing remarks that we might have?
To Diego, he just asked, I have seen different internships in different states. If I live in Atlanta, do you recommend to consider them in my research? And I don't know if one of the employers wants to take that before we close up.
I can just say last year we had an internship that was supposed to be on site and people were actually moving to the area for it, but we did it completely remotely because of everything. So my suggestion is, given the environment here, we have a little bit more leeway, reach out and research as much as possible and see if there's any kind of way for regional kind of help there.
That's all I see, Wanda.
Okay. So I added that link. That's career fair tips for navigating on the Handshake virtual career fair platform in case students never been on that platform. So in closing, I would like to definitely thank Kimberly and Edgar for joining us and all of the students who took out the time. You definitely have received a lot of information on how to organize and strategize and maximize your virtual fair experience. So having said that, then we will sign off. I wish everyone to be well and safe. And if you are going to participate in the virtual career fair, please utilize the resources that have been given to you today so that you can have a successful virtual fair experience. thank you again to our guest employers, and they put their contact information. I was going to mention that, Kimberly. Everyone's put their contact information in LinkedIn. All right, thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Everyone.